Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my NFL week number 12 tips. Obviously last week I did a massive collab with Wobble and Jaw Sport. As for my tips for last week, guys, I went 10 from 14. Really started to, go on a bad run down the end there. The Seahawks lost. My Kansas City Chiefs lost the Super Bowl rematch as well. And Washington were upset by New York by a decent margin too. Games that I did get right, I did pick the Cleveland Browns to win by exactly 3, and the Green Bay Packers to get the upset over the Chargers by 3. So I was cheering there. Also had the San Francisco 49ers to beat the Bucks by 15, and they won that game by 13. So not a bad record overall last week, 10 from 14, a couple of margins there. It's Thanksgiving week over in America, so there's some, different type of games and different days. So let's get into the NFL. Week number 12.
Subscribe to Entertain House.
So it all begins on Friday at 4:30 a.m. So it's a very early game in Australia. Thursday night football for you in America. It is the Detroit Lions hosting the Green Bay Packers. Now, this will be an interesting game. The Packers, they're coming off a win. They're definitely playing better a lot recently. But Detroit, man, they've won 6 of their last 7. They were very gritty to get that win against the Bears, who really gave it to them. The Detroit defense was not great, in my opinion, up until, the very end of that game. However, they are able to turn around games like that, and that is a massive boost, especially coming into playoffs time as well, because Detroit fans, you will be there. As for this game, I think that the Detroit Lions should win. They're at home, and I think the Packers are primarily this season really struggling. So I don't think they'll win 14 plus, because I think the Packers are on an improve, but I am going to take the Detroit Lions to win by 11 points. Next up, this game is at 8:30 a.m. So we are treated to 3 games on Friday. And this game is the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Washington Commanders. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Dallas Cowboys, I think they're coming off the bye. Either that or they played, a week and a half ago. So they're well rested coming into this game. And the Commanders, they're coming off, I guess, a shock loss. I don't think many people expected the New York Giants not only to win, but to win by that margin. If you did watch my preview last week with Wobble and Jaw, my best bet of the week was the Giants plus 9.5. So that bet did get up as far as that goes. Look, as for this game, I think the Dallas Cowboys should be too good for the Commanders. They should be able to take care of them. Again, I do think this will be a closer game than people think, and maybe they rise to the occasion with, this special day. So I'll go the Dallas Cowboys to win by 13 points. Next up, it's the Seattle Seahawks hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the Seahawks are coming off a loss to the Los Angeles Rams, who were, they were welcomed back with Matt Stafford and able to get the job done there at the end. Up against a 49ers team who's been ruthless in recent weeks. They're looking much more complete with, the injury-riddled squad returns. They're on the road here. They've been fairly good on the road this season as well. They had that 3 straight losses record, but besides that, you can't fault the Niners' performances this year. The Seattle Seahawks have been pretty good this season though, and they go against a tough opponent here. So this is a big test for them to see where they're at. And I just think the 49ers are a level above. So I think the 49ers will just win 14 plus. I know this game's at Lumen Field, and it probably could be closer because Seattle's defense is better than they showed last week. However, I'm going to go the 49ers to win by 15 points in this game. Then you've got the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium hosting the Miami Dolphins. Now the Dolphins, they've been playing really, really well. They've had a couple of losses this season, but for the most part, they're looking really good coming into the playoffs, especially in offense. So I think they'll be a bit hard to contain. Haven't mind what I've seen from the Jets. However, it was a pretty poor performance last week. So for that reason, I know they're back at home, struggling with the QB situation as well. It looks like Zach Wilson will be overlooked this week. I'm going to go the Miami Dolphins to win by 8. I think this game might be a bit closer than people think. I think Miami away, seem to have closer games. So I think it'll be a tight-ish game, but I think that the Dolphins ultimately should be able to beat the New York Jets by 8 points. Then you've got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Saints have won 3 of their last 7 games, whereas it's only a 2 from 7 record for the Atlanta Falcons. Started off okay at the start of the season, the Atlanta Falcons, and they've fallen off a cliff, losing their last 3 games. The Saints are coming off a loss, so it's hard to read based on the form of both of these teams, but, the Saints, for me, have better defense. Do they have better offense, though? I don't know. I'm going to say yes, though. I think this should be a tight game, but I see the Saints getting the win on the road here. I'm going to go the New Orleans Saints to win by 5 points. I think it will be tough, but I just think New Orleans are going to come home with the dub in this game by 5. Then you've got a really interesting game because the Cincinnati Bengals life begins without Joe Burrow, and this is going to be really tough, isn't it, for the Cincinnati Bengals? They've got amazing offense, but they're going to be, doing a lot more rushing than they're used to. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, they were beaten by the Browns last week. This game is a home game for Cincinnati, but obviously they're missing their quarterback, which I think from what I've read actually puts Pittsburgh as favourites for this one. And as we know, Pittsburgh Steelers always seem to have a winning record by the end of the season. I'm going to tip Cincinnati by 1. I reckon they're going to snatch this game. They probably shouldn't win it. I'll go with something like a 20-19 because I think that the Steelers still have a decent defense and the Bengals should struggle to score points. However, I think that they might score maybe 2 touchdowns and something else. Something might happen in this game, and the Bengals are going to win by 1 point. Next up, it's the Tennessee Titans taking on the Carolina Panthers, and honestly, these teams seem to be around the same level at the moment. They are absolutely awful to watch. They have both lost the last 3 straight games after coming off a win. 1 win for the season for the Carolina Panthers, and the Tennessee Titans. Just a poor record this season and some really poor performances as well. As for this game, they've got, Derrick Henry. So I think that should be enough to get them home. I do think he'll probably have one of those games where, he'll just run for 100 plus yards. But yeah, I think the Tennessee Titans will beat Carolina here, especially at home. But I don't think they can take anything out of winning this game. I don't think they can take any confidence in the way that their season is going. Absolutely downhill. But I think the Tennessee Titans should win by about 10 points. Next up, you've got a really interesting game here. This is one of the games of the week, in my opinion. It's the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Tampa started playing well in recent weeks. However, obviously beaten by the 49ers. And then the Indianapolis Colts, they haven't been too bad this season. They are at home hosting Tampa as well. Seen some very creative play from both of these teams this season. And, Indianapolis Colts have scored a lot of points on offense. So I would say that their offense is better than the Buccaneers. However, the Buccaneers have a fairly good defense. And this is going to be a tough game to pick. I actually think this is very close to being a 50-50 game. And Indianapolis being at home probably gives them a slight edge, but I'm going to go the Bucks here. I don't know if it's an upset because I think it's 50-50. I'm going to go Tampa Bay to win by 4. I think this game will be very, very tight. This could honestly come down to a field goal in my opinion, but I am going to go with Tampa Bay to win by 4 points over the Colts, and I think this should be a really entertaining match at 5 a.m. on Monday. Next up, it's the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium hosting the New England Patriots, and both of these teams have been god-awful this season, so this is going to be an absolute snooze fest. Now, you've got a great rushing game with Saquon Barkley from the Giants there. You got no Daniel Jones, so basically, that backup QB, and then who knows what's going on over at New England at the moment. 3 straight losses for the Patriots, and that 1 win, I think it was against the Bills a few weeks ago. And then the Giants, they're coming off a shock win, and that would have been their 4th straight loss. So, both of these teams have a losing record and are having poor seasons. I'm going to tip the Giants here. I don't know why, because I think they had their great performance last week and they probably go back to not scoring a touchdown this week. I think they're going to get it done. I don't think this will be very high scoring. I'm going to go with something like a 21-16 kind of scoreline. I'm going to go the Giants to win by 5. The Patriots should keep it close, but I just think the Giants might get home at MetLife Stadium. Then you've got a great game, another one of the games of the week. This game is also at 5 a.m. from Houston. It is the Houston Texans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars have been fairly good for this season. They've been, impressive for the most part over there in the AFC. And then the Texans, they've been a massive surprise packet, and they are in some serious form this year. So this is going to be a really tough game, and CJ Stroud is playing fantastic. Trevor Lawrence had that bad game a few weeks ago, but he's back to playing good as well. It's at Houston, so it gives them the advantage. But Jacksonville, man, they're hard to go against this year, aren't they? Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to tip the Texans in an upset. I'm going to tip the Texans to win by a field goal. I reckon last team with the ball probably wins this game. And I'm going to go the Houston Texans to win by 3 points. This is going to be a cracking game, but I'm going to tip the Texans to upset the Jaguars. Then you've got the Denver Broncos up against the Cleveland Browns. Now, this will be a great game because, the Denver Broncos have won 4 of their last 5 games. They have turned their season around drastically. It's one of the biggest turnarounds I've seen in years that I can remember. And then the Cleveland Browns are coming into this game with 3 straight wins. So, really informed team playing each other for this one. Deshaun Watson, I believe, is out for a number of weeks, potentially even the season. So massive loss there for the Browns. The Denver Broncos, but, they're playing like a team once again. They're at home here. They're probably due a loss with 4 straight losses. I don't think they lose this game. I like what I've seen from the Denver Broncos. They have been able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. They have been able to earn wins as well. So I'm going to go the Denver Broncos here. I'm going to go the Denver Broncos to win by 10. I think Denver make it 5 straight. The next game is at 8 o'clock, and this game is the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Now, this is a home game for Arizona, so the Rams go on the road, coming off a victory at home, I believe, against the Seahawks for this one. Should be tough. The Cardinals with Kyler Murray back look like a much better team. However, I don't think there's too much between these teams, but I do think that the Rams are a better team, especially when they are more complete like they are right now. So I think the Rams should get this one done on the road. I'm not confident though. I can definitely see a Cardinals upset heading this way, but I am going to go the Los Angeles Rams to win by 5 points. Next up, it is my team, the Kansas City Chiefs, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders in Nevada. Now, the Chiefs are coming off a Super Bowl rematch loss against the Philadelphia Eagles, blowing that lead of halftime, and a great comeback by the Eagles. Well done. This is definitely an important game for the Chiefs. In regards to, the AFC West, it seems to be absolutely all locked up, but the AFC battle is still definitely open. So, we definitely need to win this game and get back on that winning streak that we've been on. As for the Raiders, they are coming off a loss going into this game. I think that loss was to the Jaguars, if I'm not mistaken. I think Kansas City bounced back here. I think they weren't too bad against the Eagles. I just think we got a little bit unlucky there, and I think our receivers just didn't play as well as they could have, especially towards the end of that game. So I'm going to go the Chiefs to bounce back. I think we should win this game by 14 plus 2. I know the Raiders had, been playing a little bit better, but I think the Chiefs are a level above them. So I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to win by... I've got 15 here. I'm going to change it to 13. I reckon it will be a bit closer. I'm going to go Kansas City to win by 13 points. The Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Buffalo Bills. Now, this should be a good game. The Eagles are definitely a much better team than the Bills this year, but the Bills can just grab a game out of anywhere and turn it their way. So this is going to be tough, and this is going to be a game where the Bills are going to want to prove a point, and this definitely could be an upset. But the Eagles, man, I've been saying their defense has been poor all year, and they have been leaking a high amount of points, but I thought against the Chiefs they were really, really good, especially in that comeback. So starting to believe that the Eagles are going on a bit of a dream run here, and their record is showing it as well. I got the Eagles winning this game. I think it will be close enough, but I still think the Eagles should win. I'm going to go the Eagles to win by 8 points. I think it'll be kind of a mid-range scoring game. Maybe something like a 23 to 31 kind of scoreline. So I guess it's fairly high, but I think that the Eagles should be able to get past the Bills. I do think the Bills are going to make it tough, but I got Philly winning. Last 2 games of the week sees the Chargers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Chargers are coming off back-to-back losses. They lost against the Green Bay Packers, and I did pick that. And now they've got a really tough opponent. And I think the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken, are coming off the bye as well. They've been playing really, really well. They had that one loss to the Browns, but they have won 4 of their last 6 games. So that's 5 of their last 6 games. So a really good record there for Baltimore. They're on a big run. As for the Chargers, I don't see much happening for them this year. So I'm going to go the Baltimore Ravens to win by 13. I think it will be respectable enough to not blow them out of the water, but I could see it happening. They might struggle to contain Baltimore's offense, so I'm going to go the Baltimore Ravens to win by 13. And wrapping up the week of NFL, the last game of the week sees the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears. Well, the Bears were very unlucky to lose against a really solid team in the Detroit Lions, and then the Vikings kind of unlucky to lose to the Denver Broncos. They had a really decent game. However, they were beaten in the end, and that streak comes to an end. They had 5 straight wins going into that game as well. Such a job Josh Jacobs is doing without Kirk Cousins there. The Vikings are playing really well. The Bears, they've definitely lost 3 of their last 4 games, but they are playing a little bit of good football. So I think that I'm going to go with the Vikings here. I'm not entirely confident, hey. I think the Bears might shock people here with the performance of how good they'll play. But I think that the Minnesota Vikings will win, and I think it will be close. I'm going to go the Minnesota Vikings to win by 6. Anyway, guys, that is it for Week 12 of the NFL picks. Let me know your picks in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and let me know which game you're most excited for this week. And I'll see you guys later.